So if you have something that you would like to ask, put your hand in the air, and we will be distributing 3x5 cards that are blank, so you can write your question on them. Yes?
Just let the candidates know that I'll be taking the time, and you got 2 minutes and 1 minute, 1 minute, and at the end of your allotted time, you'll get that.
And if you hear a beep, 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 it means you're done. So just because you're not looking for the stop sign doesn't mean you don't have to stop. So any questions from the audience or from our panel?
If anyone has no cards, I'll bring them up now. One. And also we should mention that we're missing 4 candidates. We're doing League of Women Voters rules. That's the format for this forum. And by that definition, if some of the candidates don't appear, we have to mention that they were contacted and that they can't make it for various reasons. And I should mention which ones they are. I just
The League of Women Voters has
yeah.
disavowed any knowledge or participation in our event this evening.
Yes, no, they're not sponsoring it or anything. Also, there are microphones, which Eddie Callahan has very generously installed. Does that sound good? I'm Julia Reichel. I'm the publisher of the Watershed Post. I'm only a grunt in this particular forum. Thank you all for attending. So I should make it clear that our 2 candidates for town clerk can't be here, and our current highway superintendent can't make it, and neither can a candidate for town council. The 4 names are Thomas Hall, Michael McAdams, Kimberly Tosi, and Janis Jacques, whose name is not pronounced Jacques. It's pronounced Jacques. I think I have messed it before. Jacques, excuse me. I apologize for that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve.
Okay, this is a wandering mic which will be passed from candidate to candidate. So the way this will work is when a question is given, the microphone will be given to a person to be named, and they will pass the microphone to the person next to them until everyone has had a chance to speak. The second question will go to the second person, and the microphone will go down here and then back to you. So no one will have to answer every question first. Okay? This is a little bit larger than everybody else's chair. So, Shayne, if we could start with you. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and to say whatever you're saying in 2 minutes.
Don? Yep.
Yes.
My name is Shayne Moshier. I'm a 12-year veteran of this board, born here in the Andes. I have a business in this town since '87. Employ 3 members of the town. Would really appreciate your vote. I try to fight for everything that we can for you people. Fighting with the city is a lot of fun. If any of you realize what it's like trying to negotiate with them people. Other than that, I don't have much to say. We'll keep trying to fight for you.
Hi.
Just hang on.
Push it up.
There we go. Hi, pretty much everybody in the room knows me, Ritchie Gabriel. Been on the town board 24 years, up for re-election. I'm a long life resident here in town. I graduated from high school here, went to college at Delhi. Currently work for the state at the college. It's been a pleasure in the past, I must say, in the last 6 terms to serve as your councilman and your representative for the town people and taxpayers. It's been a struggle with the current budget that we have right now, we've had to do a lot of cuts, and it's always something that I strive for, to keep the costs and your taxes down as low as possible and still maintain a fiscally manageable town government. And I'm up for re-election, and I really appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.
Hi. Excuse me. Hi, most of you know I'm Marty Donnelly, I'm the current supervisor. I'd like to make a couple of comments. The town board and I have worked very hard for your support. With your support and with the help of this town board, I have been able to obtain funding for the actual construction for over $8 million of projects in this town. This is at little or no cost to you. This includes the recent grant of $250,000 and the $2.4 million agreed to by the New York City DEP after many years of haggling to upgrade the wastewater treatment plant. Lastly, I do not believe that you would want this town board or any town board to be as dysfunctional as our state and federal governments are. We should agree on matters that benefit you and our town instead of arguing yes or no. If it's something that's for the benefit of the people of Andes and it's not a drain on the taxes, I believe that they should be supportive of it, every one of us, myself included. So I ask you, please support the Republican team, Ritchie Gabriel, Shayne Moshier for town council, both of them, Kim Tosi for town clerk, Mike McAdams for highway superintendent, and Margaret Moshier for tax collector, and myself as supervisor. And thank you for your past support.
Hello everybody, my name is Bill Wagner and I'm running for the position of Highway Superintendent for the town of Andes. I am a native Long Islander who has owned land in Andes for over 16 years, and 4 years ago I decided to move to Andes and make it my home. I decided on Andes because my parents and many members of my family have owned property and or lived for well over 55 years in Andes. I now live on Lower Dingle Hill Road with my wife Debbie. Let me tell you a little about myself. My education and work background. I have a high school diploma and 1 year college majoring in engineering. For 10 years I've owned and operated Wagner Transport, a trucking business which employed 35 full-time employees. The business operation with 15 trucks and 40 trailers throughout the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. For 10 years, I've owned and operated Bugs Way Exterminating, a pest control business with hundreds of businesses and residential customers. Prior to moving to Andes, I worked in the heavy construction industry for 15 years, building roads, replacing drainage pipes, and laying asphalt and stone. Owning and operating my own business through the years has given me experience in all aspects of business management, including budgeting, time management, human resources, and the purchasing and maintenance of equipment. I have also held a CDL license for over 42 years. Providing me with wealth of experience in the operation of heavy machinery, I am also a lifetime member of and ex-captain of the Plainview Volunteer Fire Department on Long Island. Having actively served for over 30 years, I participated in many training courses and received many awards, and now I am a proud volunteer for the Andes Fire Department. Over the past year, I have spoken to many residents in the Andes who overwhelmingly agree that it is time for a change. 5-year terms is too long and enough for one person to be in office with little or no improvement on the roads.
You only get 2 minutes to roll.
We got 3.
Right? Gizmos, you don't get used to it.
All set, Jack?
Yeah.
I'm Bud Gladstone, and probably as some of you know, I'm also Wayland Gladstone. Some of you never knew my real name. I first of all would like to say thanks to the town board, and no matter who's on the board, it does take a very diligent board to try to maintain a good, solid budget. And I'd like to welcome everybody for coming here today. and I welcome all your concerned comments and questions. My family heritage goes back quite a few years. Our whole family on both our side and Walt's side always have served for the community, and we've been proud to serve for the community. My wife Suzanne sits over at the table in the back corner. I have 2 children, both raised, well, they were raised here, of course. I have 2 children that went to school in the Andes, graduated 1 minute already.
Yep.
Even that welcome thing. All right. All right, sorry about that, Jack. All right. And 5 grandchildren. I'm 4th generation dairy farm. And in 2003, we diversified. My wife and I started a heifer raising business, raising heifers for other farmers, selling hay locally and all across the eastern seaboard. We started Catskill tree movers, grow and transplant trees. We do some excavation and construction work. Community service, I'm currently a fire commissioner, honorary member of the fire department, past 30-year member, of which 3 I was chief. Served on Margaretville Hospital Board, past trustee of the UP Church, vice president of the Andes Alliance, one of the first programs put together for the watershed farm ag program, which I've been affiliated with that for 21 years.
Am I on now?
No.
Yes.
You are.
Am I loud enough?
I'll make you louder.
Who's on?
I'm on.
Yep.
Okay, can you make it deeper and more resonant?
I'll make you younger too.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who want to know, we already have 6 questions on hydrofracking. So to start off with a more generic question, Shayne, what separates you from the other candidates and makes you more qualified for the position you're running for?
Well, outside of Ritchie having me by 8 years, maybe more years, I think the 12 years that I've served, showing off a lot of what's going on, agree with Bud. I've been a fireman for 28 years, a chief for 3 of those. I think those qualifications help quite a bit. I know what's going on with the city. I know what's going on with some of the other issues that we're facing. We're not walking into this thing cold.
Okay. What separates you from the other candidates and makes you more qualified for the position you're running for?
Well, with 20 years of experience 24 years of experience on board as your councilman currently, and all the different avenues and issues that we address on a daily basis, be it swimming pool issues, wastewater treatment issues, highway issues. There's a vast majority of problems that you have to encounter every day, and with the experience that I've had sitting on the board, you have resources to go to if you don't have the correct answers or the answers you feel are correct to help you with the decisions that have to be made. A lot of decisions aren't popular decisions, but they are bottom line for the taxpayers of this town, and we're always looking to keep your dollar to the best benefit that we can, give you the most for your money.
I'm not a town board candidate.
No, it's what separates you from the other candidates for the position you're running for.
Nobody else running.
You mean you're the best candidate and the only candidate.
Well, being that I'm the only candidate, it makes it difficult to say whether or not I'm the best candidate. I believe that over the past 13 and a half years, working with this town board, I've proven what I could do and will do for the town. I will not start a program that's going to impact you on a taxpayer's dollar if it can be avoided in any way. We have some situations, particularly with this budget, that are horrendous. We have $400,000 that we took from our general fund to fix roads that were desperately needed to be fixed and bridges for our community. But getting FEMA to pay us back is an altogether different story.
Well, I think at this time, for me running for highway superintendent, it has nothing to do with me right now. But if it did, and I did make the position, I would request a bond and some kind of a guarantee for them to repair these roads.
With myself being a dairy farmer, now various other businesses going on, working in the farming industry, you always have a tight economy. Extremely tight budget, as like this year, bad weather. On our hay side of our business, we take a 50% cut. So I'm used to working with budgets, jockeying figures. I've worked with other organizations and boards. So I've been with organizations, plus being on this board, I'm familiar with how the board runs. I'm a people person, I'm open-minded. I stand pretty firm when I need to. I can't be pushed around. And I'm a person that asks questions. And I feel I ask the right questions. I'm not afraid to ask maybe the question that's not most popular, but I will ask a question. I will work with anybody, and if anybody knows me, I am willing to work with anybody. With that said, I think right now that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Okay, if you'll pass that down to Mr. Gabriel. Do you feel communication between the board and the community is adequate?
At the present time, communication is, I would say, yes, adequate. If residents, taxpayers have issues, all they need to do is forward their questions to the town clerk ahead of time so that we have answers for your questions, and you can appear at a town board meeting and ask us any question you've got on your mind, whatever's bothering you people, if there are issues. A lot of times we take questions that people ask that haven't been addressed earlier, but that's the only reason why we asked up front to call the town clerk and just give us an idea of what you're talking about so that we can give you honest and intelligent answers when you get to a town board meeting. Obviously, we've been doing a pretty good job, I feel, because we don't have that many issues or people that can come to a town board meeting and ask questions.
Hand that down.
Yes, same question?
Yes.
I believe that we have adequate access to the taxpayers. They have access to us. I would like to see more participation from the taxpayers, residents, at our town board meetings. It's unfortunate that many people do not come. The meetings are open to you and they are for your benefit. If you don't ask us the questions, we don't know what's on your mind. And that's the reason why we started the policy. Tell us what it is you want to talk about. We'll get the answers for you, rather than have you come and have us say, we don't know the answer right now, the highway superintendent isn't here, the budget officer isn't here. We'll have the answer for you if it's at all possible. I think that's our job. I think that's what we owe you that, and that's what I strive for. I really do wish more people would attend the town board meetings. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll pass it to Bud, I have no comment.
run that by me one more time.
Do you feel communication between the board and the community is adequate?
I think there's a lack of communication. People have come to me for quite a few years. What's going on? I don't hear nothing. What do you hear? That is part of my platform to help open up so you have knowledge of what's going on. And it really goes back 6 years, back in the wind turbine issue. The people weren't really familiar and really didn't know where the town was, what the town was doing, or where they were going with wind turbines, until the people brought it to the town board in February, I believe, of '06. Again, we're faced with another big issue, probably more important. Larry Breakstone brought it to the board. The board not once in any meeting that I'm aware of had mentioned it to the people. The board's responsibility is to bring issues to the people, and they need the input of the people. The input helps direct the board. The board has to have the input of the people. You get the input, you weigh it out. At the board meetings, I feel you should be welcomed there. Not once, I've been there every meeting since the beginning of this year, I believe, maybe February. Not once has the town board said, "Hi, I'm glad to see you." There should be an open forum in the beginning, just in case an issue turns up the morning of the meeting. Why wait because you weren't able to call in last Friday to get on the agenda? Why wait till next month? Salt chart coming up, Jack.
Down to Shayne.
I think there is adequate stuff going on. We advertise these board meetings every month. We had a problem years ago. People complained that we were doing them at night and they couldn't be there. So we change our schedules around from jobs that all of us have and do it in the afternoon during the winter months, and we still get screamed at. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. We're advertised, they're advertised. If you want to come and participate, you'll come and participate. I do agree a little bit with Bud. I think that some of our stuff should be a little bit more on the computer, but maybe we can work on that with a new town clerk. Other than that, I think they're definitely adequate.
Okay, Marty, this one is for you. This is a late question. Would you be willing to make certain that all taxpayers have adequate knowledge and time to get to the town meetings? Because it seems that I never know about a meeting until it is passed.
By state law, we're required to advertise beginning of the year the time and place of all of our meetings. The only time that ever changes is like this next meeting has been changed to the 15th because of election day. 10th, I'm sorry, because of election day. And that is advertised by state law. I would like to say yes, I don't know anything else I could tell you. If we do have more computer involvement by the new clerk, that will be something that we would strive for. Other than to tell you, put it in the newspapers, there's 3 reporters here now, or maybe 4. They report when our meeting is. And if the people say they don't know about it, that's very difficult to understand. I would like to comment on, if I may, what Bud said a minute ago about no one ever welcomes the people. I thank the people for coming every single board meeting for the last 13 and a half years. I think that's their right to communicate with us. Sometimes we have people come to the meeting once in a year or twice in a year, and I'll ask the same question that's been resolved 2 or 3 years in the past, and that's not conducive to the people that are in the audience wanting to hear what's going on. We do address people from the floor, whether or not they have privilege of the floor, because I believe it's your right to speak. However, there are times when we're not going to be able to give you the answer that you want. So that's my answer to that.
I have no comment.
Would you be willing to make certain that all taxpayers have adequate knowledge and time to get to the town meetings? It seems that I never know about a meeting until it has passed.
One clarification, Marty, I'd like to make on your statement, please. I never said you didn't say thank you. I was talking about welcoming people. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming.
Excuse me?
But we're in the 21st century. The town should have a website, full-blown information, what's going on, what are issues, just everything about the town businesses, you name it, we need to make ourselves available. Andy's is the place where everybody's going to. And for all you new homeowners here, I'd like to welcome you to Andy's. Andy's is a popular place. If somebody's on the West Coast, everybody knows Andy's. But how do you find out about Andy's? Get on the website. It's easier. But if there's no website, how do you find out? So with that said, that's really probably the easiest way to get the information out there, because pretty much most everybody has a computer. Thanks.
Goes down to Shayne again. Would you be willing to make certain that all taxpayers have adequate knowledge and time to get to the town meetings? It seems that I never know about it. Yeah, but,
Oh, I'm sorry.
okay.
I can't really add to it more than the 4 guys here in front of me. It's true, page 14 and 15 municipal law says that they have 48 hours to be notified. I don't know how much more we can do. I agree it should be computerized. There's no answer that it shouldn't be. But other than that, I don't know how we can get more people to know what's going on. Any suggestions?
Have you responded? Have you responded? No.
Like Marty Donnelly said, we do have an official newspaper. All meetings are posted, I believe 2 weeks prior to the official meetings. By state law, we have to do that. And yes, we are working on a website with a computer to, like Ed said, to get in the 21st century. And we have split meetings up. Half of them are right now, currently, they are at night during the winter months, and during the summer, they're during winter months, during the day at 12:30, and 6 months of the year, they're at 7 o'clock at night. We have an official day of every month. The second Tuesday of every month is easy to remember. That's when we designated our meetings to be held. I guess that's all I got.
Okay. Okay. What are your thoughts regarding economic development in Andes, and how can the board help promote our business community?
Like I said in the past, I'm more concerned about the roads for the people that live in Andes, and for the homeowners, the second homeowners, and the visiting people that come to Andes. So, as far as, I think we need other type of stores besides antique stores. I think we need a mercantile or like the old IGA we used to have on a corner. I think those are the types of stores we should have at least one of them in town. As far as anything else, it's up to Bud.
It's a hand grenade.
Well, I feel that town board should start an economic development committee consisting of a couple planning board members, town board members, community members, and concerned citizens. We have a wealth of knowledge in this town with people that have moved here. Ambition, smart. We need to cap on that, and a lot of it's there for our own use, free. We need to get onto it. An economic development committee with a town website helps interested people, business owners or whatever, helps them, whether they are halfway across the country, look to Andy's, well, what do they have to offer? Hey, they got this committee. Let's see what they have going on. Andy's has been in the past a dairy community. Of course, like most towns in the state, farming's going out. We're fortunate, farming to a certain degree is coming back in. We've got horse farms, we've got beef farms, we've got down on Trempskill, beef, goat, and sheep. And people come to see that. Businesses spin off of that. And also with the Patacton Reservoir sitting here, we have a business that's ready to take off with sailboating, kayaks, non-motorized boats, which will require somebody to have a business that rents, sells boats, whatever, and also potentially a spin-off of that could be a campsite for somebody that wants or has the land and wants to do something to maybe take that a step further. So right now, that's all I have to say on development. Time's out anyway.
That's my on you, Jack.
Oh, it goes all the way down to the end.
Economic development in this town is going to be, you people aren't going to want to hear this, but you're going to hear it anyway. With the regulations New York City has on this town, in the watershed, and with the off and on somewhere around 1,200 acres, according to their regulations, that are developable that's left in this town, how do we do it? It's awful tough. And the next problem is we've had 2 or 3 people walk in here and say, oh geez, let's have a senior housing project. So the town starts to work onto it, their money runs out. So much for that idea. Can't blame the town on that one. I'm all for economic development, but with the rules that we've been shoved down our throats, it's going to be awful, awful tough to do it.
Economic development would be, it's a way for the town to go. As far as committees, like Bud said, we have many residents who have lived their life here who would be very smart on an economic board also, as well as the ones that have been moved in from downstate. And also, like Shayne has said, with New York City, it's like having one hand tied behind your back with the rules and regulations that are in place now, but it's something that needs to be looked at to bring business in. If any of the residents, like we said before, want to come to a town board meeting and discuss it, we take a look at it and see where we can go. If there's interested parties, please let us know after the meeting.
Economic development is a very, very difficult subject for the town of Andes and for you, the residents, as well as the town board. The problem that we have, it's been alluded to by Shayne and Ritchie, we have the watershed, rules and regulations. I know of areas in this community, because of my position on the Council Watershed Corporation, that have spent in excess of $1 million for design of the septic system. And finally, it went out of business because 4 or 5 or 6 engineering plans were rejected for this or that or whatever. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that all the problems that exist in Delaware County and Andes are not the fault of New York City. However, many of the rules that are enforced on us make it that way. We have a committee of some members in town. I don't know if they're ready to go public with it yet, but I have been privileged to talk with them that they're interested in trying to find something that will be economically feasible for the town of Andes. I would be more than happy to work with them in any way I can, but I'm telling you right now, it is very, very difficult. And it's in 17 of the 19 towns in Delaware County, not just Andes. Thank you.
Okay, this question is going to take a long time, so you all have to listen up because I'm only going to say this once. I've got 7 cards here about fracking, so if you have any, little cards in your pocket to take out that you want to read, please do so now. So here's a question about fracking bringing thousands of truck trips over the roads. And here's one that says, does anyone running for town board have a lease with a natural gas company? What is your position on hydrofracking or gas drilling? And what should the town board do to protect Andes even further beyond the moratorium that's currently in effect? And I think a lot of people are just going to ask the question, are you for or against fracking? And please do not equivocate. What is your opinion on hydrofracking? I think it's more your opinion on the presence of hydrofracking if the moratorium were ever lifted. And at the town board meeting this month, it was recommended by the town attorney for a renewable 6-month moratorium against hydrofracking and any heavy industry. Do you support this recommendation, and when can we expect this resolution to pass? Like I said, I can't repeat any of what I've said, but go.
That's it. Straight up, I'm against fracking. I'm not going to hesitate.
No applause, please.
And
Thanks, guys.
I'm not going to hesitate. I believe we have too much here to risk. Sure, there's probably some profit to be made. We've got a situation here in the Andes that's very delicate. Tourism. Where are we without tourism? We cannot risk what we have. We have nothing else to fall back onto. Tourism is our livelihood, point blank. Traffic. I enjoy breakfast down at Cassie's, dinner out on front of the hotel here at times. Who wants to see truck after truck after truck going both ways? The town has a comprehensive plan. The plan is to guide the town in the direction that the people want it to go in. The comprehensive plan has been in for probably, I don't know, maybe 20 years, maybe 10 years, maybe it was revised maybe 10 years ago, I'm not really sure. That was made to help guide the town for the future. If you take and neglect the comprehensive plan, what did you put it in place for? It would, as far as economic development, it probably shoot any hopes of anything coming into town or right in the foot. As far as economic development, I'd like to spin off on that back just one time. Ingenuity creates economic growth. Necessity is the mother of invention. It always has been and always will be. And we have to work with regulations, however we need to do it to protect the town. And if I am elected, my opinion will be the same on hydrofracking.
Down to Shayne.
When it comes to hydrofracking, I'm sitting on the middle of the fence on the top. I'm not gonna go either way until we have all the facts. The town board and myself, we've collected a lot of stuff. We've been to a lot of forums, a lot of classes. I want the whole truth, all of it, both sides, good and bad, before I make a decision. We passed a resolution the other day to do a 6-month moratorium. It'll be voted on the next board meeting. It will probably be extended to a year once that 6 months is up. I think that we should explore every side of it and make sure we're doing the right thing for the taxpayers in this town. I don't think it's smart for us to walk into something knowing that we're going to have a lawsuit and spend a whole lot of your tax dollars trying to fight a lawsuit that we probably wouldn't win. So I agree with our lawyer. I think it's kind of stupid to walk into a lawsuit like that. And as far as having a lease, I own 4 acres. I think it's immaterial. I don't think 4 acres is quite big enough to maintain anything for a lease. So that's where I stand.
Yes, we are having a public hearing on this moratorium at our next town board meeting, November 10th, 12:15, 12:20, I believe. The jury's still out onto it. The technology on hydrofracking is changing every day. I can't say that I'm for it at this point, and I'm not totally against it. I'm not going to take a stand like Bud did and say right up front with blinders on that I am against it 100%. There's still, the technology is just changing, and I want to put the moratorium on so that we have time to, like Shane's indicated, research and the information that we've already got and the information that we can get down the road to see whether you talk about economic growth and help for the taxpayers in this town. There could be advantages and there's also could be disadvantages. At this point, I'm not putting blinders on and just saying no across the board. No, I have no gas leases with any gas companies right now.
First of all, I have no gas leases. I only have 7 acres, 6.9 or 6.10, whatever it is, and I do not have any gas leases. As Bud refers to with the wind turbines, there were many questions and many issues. It was pointed out by attorneys from the Association of Towns and our own attorney that the board, including myself, should not and cannot take a position for or against the issue, because if it comes time for a vote, and it happens to be a tie vote, my vote would not count, because I've already predetermined that I am against this issue or that issue, and that's the law. People have said at the town board meeting, they don't care if we get sued. Well, one of the clauses in that town law manual says you are the legal representation of the state of New York in the town of Andes. How could we go in and violate the law, knowing that we're violating the law, and bring this legal fees onto the backs of the taxpayers when we know out front that we can't do it? Number two, nobody here on the board knows, I got a call yesterday from an insurance broker, big one, Mang, to be exact, telling me that there are serious problems with the insurance company standing behind anyone who gets involved in a fracking dispute one way or the other. We rely on our town attorney's advice. That's what we pay them for, to protect your interest and your rights. And as long as you have supported me, and if you continue to support me, I will not go against the town attorney's advice.
Perfect timing, Marty.
Well, like I said before, which I maybe read my answer wrong before, but right now, I don't think these roads in Andes would withstand just the traffic of these heavy trucks back and forth, day and night, 7 days a week. But if it did happen, which I sure hope it doesn't, I would also, like I said before, want a bond from these companies to make sure they do fix our roads if they do have to come here. So they will make them back better than what they are now.
Shayne, you ready?
Same question.
No.
Darn.
New question.
Go for it.
Okay, I've only lived here in Andes for 2 years. I'm from California. I lived through the 60s.
You got me.
Yes. So my question is, when the watershed agreement was put in place back in the 50s, Andes was a dairy area, almost exclusively. And the watershed rules at that time made sense because all we had was cow manure and stuff. So isn't it time that we revisit that watershed agreement and write a new one?
You like putting me on the spot, huh? Yeah, I think
Not
definitely
just
should-
you.
I think definitely it should be rewritten. Yeah, the late 50s we had what, somewhere roughly, but maybe you can tell it, 250 some farms in the 50s.
In the early 60s, anyway, it was.
Now what are we down to? 6, I think, that are working, 5 that are working. Definitely, I think we should revisit it, but I'm not quite sure how we go about it with them. The city and the EPA seem to be all on the same page. DEC seems to be all on the same page. I believe they're all governed by the city. The votes are from the city. I don't know how to go about it. I'm definitely willing to sit down and listen, but I just don't know how to start it. I think it's a great idea.
The agreement that we had, the town with the city back in the 50s, is quite different from the current agreement that was developed in 1997, I believe. I don't think it's adequate at this point, and yes, I'm also in favor of updating.
There would have to be an agreement amongst over 60 signatories to reopen the negotiations for the watershed agreement. At the moment, there's over 60 entities that would have input into this that must agree to even open up the discussion. There are many things that could be done differently and should be, but I don't see 60 people coming to the table. As it is with this new agreement in 1997, those of you who are familiar with it and follow things in the newspaper, and we get 4 of them at our house on a regular basis. Everyone would like to throw me out with the newspapers. But the courts ruled what would be done with the New York City watershed agreement for the extension of the FAD. The FAD was our only major weapon to use to hold the city feet to the table, to the fire, if you will. But when the court determined that the next negotiations was going to be open, Delaware County, the largest, 51% of the watershed, was not even invited to the table. So that ought to tell you 8 million is more than 41,000. Thank you.
Well, I think I have nothing to do with this.
Just one step back on the fracking, I forgot to answer, no, I do not. I have 400 acres and no, I do not have a lease, nor will I. But getting back to the city deal here, not being on the town board in quite a while, I'm not really familiar with everything that's been going on as far as what they've been doing with the city. But yes, I do believe we need to stay on top of any city agreement, and especially with the recent acquisitions that they've been buying around town and all towns that's within the watershed. So yes, we need to stay very tight with what's going on, and we just have to keep track of it, because otherwise there's potential being run over. Thanks.
This next question is kind of complicated. I will try to read it so that it makes sense. It's entitled Landowners' Rights Issue. Most townships in the New York City watershed have given landowners whose land lies within the expanded hamlet designations, which disallow the sale of their land, either in fee or conservation easement, to the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, the right to opt out. Andes has not. Do you agree or disagree with this arbitrary taking of landowners' rights, and why?
Outside the designated hamlet area, it's willing seller, willing buyer. I don't know of any acreage that has opted out outside the designated hamlet.
No, this is within.
Oh, within the hamlet. I guess I have no comment on that right now. We do have other than the designated hamlet, yes, actually that's in litigation with one case right now that I really don't feel that we can speak about that at this point. It's in the lawyer's hands.
Could you pass the mic to Marty? Marty.
As Ritchie said, we have a situation right now where there is a lawsuit pending, and as all of you know, when lawyers are involved, the best thing to do is follow their advice, and we cannot make any comment about an individual situation. The hamlet designation was established in 1998. As far as the village is concerned, it's part of the memorandum of agreement agreed to by New York City and the communities in 1997. The purpose of it was to allow the communities to have the chance to grow sometime in the future. And those hamlet designated areas were pretty precise. Everybody was invited to, at that time, an open public meeting, if you will, public hearing, and they voted on it. It had nothing to do with us at that time, but it was done by the village. And so I think that, as they say, you come late to the plate and there's nothing there, that's not our fault. We can't change what was done in 97, or 98, I'm sorry. And further than that, I can't comment because it is in court.
I guess that puts me right on the hot seat. I believe, without being in the actual agreement on the board, Dan, I believe that in theory, the idea was right for future expansion. I believe and this is just my take on the deal from what little I know about it, I believe taking the rights away from those people, well, first, you're stopping New York City from being aggressive on buying that property. Fine, I totally agree with that. I think it went one step too far by limiting people from doing maybe they go to the city and want to sell, fine, but at least the city can't come to them. But what if they don't want it developed? Why should they have to keep it for the town to expand? And actually, I'm a New York City participant with an easement. I'm not sitting here sticking up for New York City at all, but a person has the right, in this case, these people in this area, if they want to put an easement, in my opinion, on their property so it's not further developed, they ought to have that right. And personally, they can still go and take that piece of property, sell it to somebody else and deed restrict it. You can't subdivide it down the road. So what is the difference? Other than that you were just preventing New York City from doing something. So I do believe one step was too many was taken on that. And with that said, that's all I have to say on that.
Well, I've got to go down the same path as Marty and Rich. We can't comment onto it at this time.
Okay, Marty. This question you are going to have to ask with a smile on your face. So, there is an issue that involves Bovina. Why is it that Bovina pays its dog warden $6,000 a year and Andy's only pays their dog warden $785 a year?
I think it's backwards.
Oops. Okay, let me just, because it says why the discrepancy between, in the salary of dog warden between Andy's and Bovina. So I heard Andy's and Bovina, and then I read 785 to 6,000, thinking that there was some parallelism on there. Well, why the discrepancy?
First of all, it's very difficult, or it was very difficult, to get somebody to be the dog warden, and I know everybody's gonna laugh, the cat warden, whatever you want to call it, because they just will not be involved with cats, and we have quite a few of them. The salary was set, it's a total salary, including mileage, gasoline, and whatever, for this person that does this. He happens to be, by the way, a Bovina resident. That salary has been cut, as many others have in this budget. But we could not get somebody that would do the job and do it for the amount of money that we wanted to pay.
How about you have the Bovina guy do it?
He is the Bovina guy.
Well, if somebody's doing it for $785 over there, couldn't they do it for $785 over here, too?
No,
Okay,
Andes is a much bigger town, okay? And we have people who would call up and say, the dog is running wild on County Route 2. If you have a rough idea how long County Route 2 is, you get an idea what happens when these guys come looking for this dog. And, you know, it's easy to say and there's a lot involved. But the salary was cut.
Oh, wow. I'll do it, folks.
I'll have to disagree with Marty on that. My neighbor happened to apply for that job. Lives just down the road from me. And probably he would have done it for less money. So that's all I have to say about that. But yes, somebody from Andy's did apply.
Can I rebut that?
not until the next question.
All was known to me was, dog warden from Bovina was interested in taking the job in Andy's back, I believe 4 years ago. And he was gonna do it at, a substantial less salary than the one that we had at that time, who happened to be Vernon Dietrich over in Close Hollow. So we, let her go and appointed Ed Weber, who was currently the dog warden for Bovina. As everyone in here knows, the town of Andes is substantially larger than Bovina. We have a lot more calls, and he spends a lot more time. We came across the board with a mileage and everything included in one salary. Yes, we have cut that salary from what it was, and we're going forward with what we got.
What these guys have said is the way it works. Our old dog catcher, I guess if you want to put it that way, had a salary, and then mileage and storage and et cetera was added on to that, and it got to be enormous. So we put an end to that and offered Weber less than what we ended up paying this woman, and he took it.
Okay. Well, this is a question for Marty and for everybody else to respond to. Or what are some of the cost-cutting measures the board is considering for the next fiscal year? And for the candidates, how would you respond to Marty's answer? So you can respond to the dog catcher and to the question.
First of all, I hear many things that happened or didn't happen. Generally, they didn't. I have no idea who this person that we're referring to spoke to, but I would be very interested in knowing who it was. As far as the town budget is concerned, it will be approved or presented at the board meeting. It's available at Town Hall on Monday. We have made many cuts. Every single person that could get a cut in pay got one. And I say could because the state law says you cannot cut the salary of a person that's in the middle of their term. So anybody that's up for election, we could do that. Anybody that was appointed to a position, we could cut their salary. You cannot cut a person that's in the middle of their term. However, there are 4 of them, and all 4 of them agreed to take a cut in salary. We have consolidated many positions in the town, at least 8. And I think that's pretty much it.
Well, if I do get this job with highway superintendent, if they're gonna make a cut on salary, well, so be it. The town has to do their thing, and we must need money to move on. So I am for their budget cuts.
On the outside, looking in again, not being a board member, I think there's some items in the general budget here. Some items can be consolidated, I believe, possibly. Some services, possibly we could get into a cost-shared service with other towns. Without being on the board, I really can't say for sure. But I think we really need to do some serious trimming on the general side of the budget. And I actually have this year's figures right here in front of me right now. And I got 5 years of figures right here, actually. There's some areas we can trim. Going to be a few people ticked. We need to do some trimming. And I think we can do some trimming without cutting services, because that's where they always cut first. Unfortunately, that's the last place you should be cutting. My father always said, you take care of the help and feed your help before you feed and pay yourself. And I believe that philosophy should be taken care of with the town board. The highway department is the most critical component of this town, And we need to, and I'm not saying give them an unlimited ticket, but we need to protect the taxpayers with a good highway crew and good equipment. And I'm not just saying buy everything you come to, don't get me wrong there, but manpower and equipment is the backbone to this town. Everything else can fall in place. And it should be managed as a business. And I'm not saying it hasn't been, but you have to run it like a personal business. Consolidation.
Shayne, it's coming to you.
On the budget, we've cut everything that we feel we can cut and still maintain something for this town. The highway was cut. You can't cut a lot, that's for sure. You've got to try to keep this place safe for the people. You got to try to keep the roads in good shape. On the general side of it, we cut everything that we thought that we could cut. You're right, you tick people off, but it's the way you have to do it.
Not to repeat what both Marty and Shayne have just spoke about, but yes, we have made several cuts. When we first started out with this tentative budget and all the different departments turned in their appropriations, we were looking at between a 17 and 18% increase in your taxes. And these are where we started from, and we've got it down to around 7% right now. That was with all the drastic cuts. Everybody took a salary cut. As Marty explained to you, we consolidated a lot of departments, and we worked very, very hard to keep your taxes down as much as possible. And that's about all I can say about that right now, without repeating what everybody else has said.
I'm gonna read a quick statement. The 2012 budget is down 5% in the general and highway funds. In spite of all the employee salary cuts in pay and consolidation of positions, the budget is still up approximately 7%. That would mean a home assessed at $100,000 would represent an approximate $20 per year increase in taxes. This increase is caused by a $20,000 increase on our health insurance. This includes adding family coverage for our highway workers, plus a $13,000 increase in our New York State retirement cost, and over $400,000 that was spent fixing roads, culverts, and bridges that were damaged because of flooding and heavy rains that we've been getting. FEMA has chosen at this time not to pay us. It's kind of like the check is in the mail. We haven't got that money. When we do get it, we'll be in good shape. Also, keep in mind we have this new 2% property tax cap that we're not supposed to exceed. If you think about it alone, the health insurance increase and the union contract that we thought we did a great job. We had a 3-year contract for 2% a year. Well, with this 2% cap, figure it out. Thank you.
Okay, Marty, you might want to keep your mic for this one, because the question here is, how much real estate does the town currently own? And why are these properties being kept off the tax rolls? I just repeat the question.
To my knowledge, no municipality pays taxes to itself. There may be some. We did have a gravel pit over in Margarettsville that we paid taxes on. I think that's about eliminated now. But I don't know any other answers, so I'm not going to say something that's not true.
Okay. Would anyone else on the panel like to respond to that? Okay. Okay. With many towns in our area giving tax relief for Cold War veterans, would you be willing to help pass a rule for Andy's veterans? Might as well.
Korean War veterans. I would be receptive to the idea. As many of you know, we did increase the veterans exemption as well as senior citizens a couple of years ago. It all depends on what the impact is going to be on you, the taxpayers. If it can be done and it doesn't impact the budget in a negative way, yes, I would totally support it. And before we go too far, I am a Korean War veteran, while I never did anything except be on an aircraft carrier.
Without knowing any figures on that, it's hard to say, but I do agree with Marty. It is something that we should look at when the time comes. It is an issue that's very important.
Yes, and I have to agree with Martin also. It is an important issue as long as there's no impact to the taxpayers in the budget and the figures that we have to go by. But if they do deserve it, and yes, I would be in favor of it.
I agree with the other guys, except on one note. We should give them an exemption, but when you give them an exemption, the rest of your taxes out here are gonna go up because somebody has to pick up the difference. It's just the way the law is written. Doesn't say it's good, and I'm for it, but it's gonna get passed down the line.
Okay, goes to Bill. What is your definition of transparency? What do you think about notifying residents of all public meetings, posting agendas, public policies in the works, budgets, salaries, and holding public forums and discussions for residents regularly?
Well, I think everybody should be informed what's going on in the town or anywhere else around here. There should not be anything held back. And I think there should be either a letter sent out or things on the computer. But I think that we should have some sort of notification on anything that goes on. Either road closures, like I know down by me, on Lower Dingle Hill, they try to fix the road. I go down one side of the road, there's no notification of anything. And that should also be handed out throughout the town. Letters should be sent out, postcards or something, or any other kind of notification that goes on in this town.
Speaking of transparency, I guess my signs tell you where I'm at. We need transparency, and it kind of goes back to what you're able to find out, how you're able to find out about it, the willingness to take the time, one, to try to find out about it. But basically, I feel we need a town that's more willing to listen to the people, willing to the input. And it's one thing to listen, but are you hearing? I mean, anybody can listen. And as going to different board meetings along the way, I see there is a problem, and in the past few years, people have come to me and spoken about this particular issue quite a bit, and that's part of the reason why I decided to run, because I myself felt we needed to open things up some. And I don't mean just open it up wide open, ridiculous. If somebody is going crazy, when you do open it up, a forum up, well, then you put the brakes on them. That's what you have to do. But we need more transparency, And just so everybody knows all the time where things are. Thanks.
As I said earlier, in reference to information availability to the public, you're entitled to it. It's your town, it's your government, it's your livelihood, it's your money. All we could do is ask you to attend. There is not a single subject relating to the town that is not discussed at the town board and is voted on by the board members. And if you were at the meeting, then you know what's going on. If you're not at the meeting, you may get a copy of the minutes. They're available in the post office, the library, Hogan's, and they're mailed out to people that want them mailed out to them. I cannot understand this just transparency question or issue. It clearly, no one can argue about communications is a very, very important issue in our lives today, and we need it. But I don't understand how we could say we don't know.
To go on further with what Marty just said, all our town board meetings are legally posted. The public, you taxpayers, are more than welcome to be there. We want you there. We want your input. There are no backroom deals. Every dollar that we have of your money, we try to do the best possible job we can to take care of it and provide the services that everyone in here expects and wants. As far as anything that's not transparent, I can't think of a thing.
I agree with the other two. I've been in some heated discussions with taxpayers, and this transparency thing, everything we do is right there. I don't know how else you can do it. Anything that is on an executive decision or anything else, it's all agreed upon by the five guys before it ever comes out anywhere. Everything that Marty wants to do as far as money in this town, it's agreed upon by us guys. The board meetings are wide open for you people to come. If you don't want to come, then I don't know how else we're supposed to get it out there to you.
Okay, next question. And we're going to try to have maybe 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll have concluding statements. This question has to do with, do you see the possibility of working with the coalition of watershed towns or having them work with towns like Andes to create an economic development task force so that this coalition could negotiate with the city rather than just one city at a time?
Quite a question.
Thank you, but it wasn't mine.
Well, kind of on the outside looking in again, you were saying the watershed coalition towns, was it?
Coalition of watershed towns.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if I'd have them, so to speak, in the driver's seat. Basically, they're along with a letter from the Board of Supervisors pro-fracking. Do we really want them driving the boat where we're at? They're trying to get the decision for the watersheds, New York City and Syracuse watersheds that are protected at the present time from fracking. They want them opened up for fracking. So I don't know, with limited information available to me right now, that's about all I can elaborate on that. Going back to one other discussion, a topic we had here about Ritchie saying possibly making my decision on fracking with blinders on. I don't wear any blinders. And as far as open discussion, I forgot to mention one thing with the transparency. It'd be nice to hear the board members discuss how they come to a decision, not go to a board meeting, motion, yep, second, yep, done. There's absolutely very little discussion on how they make up their mind on a decision in public. Thank you.
Steve, follow it down.
Yes.
I could be wrong on this, but I believe that they might not be stepping with the Coalition of Water Towns, and I kind of almost agree with Bud on that one. But I think the Delaware County IDA is fighting for every town in this county every day. So I think they cover that.
Yes, the IDA is behind us, and we do have a representative, our town supervisor of the Watershed Coalition, and I think we've had good representation as far as economic development, money that's spent, and the direction that this town is going in.
I'd just like to correct a statement Ritchie made. I have nothing to do with the Coalition of Watershed Towns. I would strongly agree with what Bud said and everybody else so far, that we don't necessarily want them to be in the driver's seat. There's a lot of dissatisfaction out there amongst other towns and communities because Delaware County has 51% of the watershed.
Can't hear you, Marty.
There's a lot of
It's on.
There's a lot of dissatisfaction out there because Delaware County has 51% of the land in the watershed, so we get 51% of the fund for the future that New York City established in 1997. I don't think you want the Coalition of Watershed Towns governing that. Right now, they're promoting putting in land trust as a way of getting around the 1997 agreement that the city could not buy any land that had a structure on it. Okay, thank you, Jack. I know there was another part of the question, and you'll have to forgive me, I missed it. But I do want to come back to, I do not believe that you would want the town board to be dysfunctional as our state and federal governments are. We should agree on matters that benefit you and our town. We shouldn't have to have 3 say no and 2 say yes if it's a matter that is good for Andes. If it is not, everybody should be against it, not 1, not 2. And I want to point out, maybe none of you or all of you are unaware that the town law says a town board meeting is for the purpose of town business between the town board members. You are invited as a guest. You are not necessarily allowed to speak. Okay, thank you, Jack.
Keep the microphone. Bill, do you have anything you'd like to say? Okay. When the wastewater treatment plant costs are assumed by Andes, A, when will it occur? And B, does the town or the sewer district assume the cost?
The easiest one will be the last one. It will always be the sewer district. There's negotiations, and you know how negotiations are. You're supposed to keep them to yourself. And I know there are some reporters here. So I'll just say that the agreement was in 30 years, the town of Andes would have to take over that mess that's down the street on the Trumpeskill. When it's redone now, hopefully we can renegotiate that. But that's something that we can renegotiate with the city. It doesn't involve anybody else.
Could you repeat that one more time?
When wastewater treatment plant costs are assumed by Andes, when will it occur? And will the town or the sewer district assume the cost?
I can't answer that one, just because I'm really on the outside looking in, but getting back to the law that Marty just stated about the town board holding their meetings, yes, that is true, I read the law on the internet. But it's the responsibility and the responsibility of the board and the respectfulness to the community that you have open discussions.
As far as the sewer plant, I believe it is the 30-year term. It will go back to the district, and believe me, you can't afford to take care of it. So let's hope that we can renegotiate something and keep New York City on board with that one.
Like both Shane and Marty said, it is on a 30-year term. It is the responsibility of the residents of the former village town now that is in the sewer district. It'll be, the final tab comes to them. It'll be the cost associated with their taxes. And hopefully in negotiations, we will up the term from when the plant is signed off by the city one more time. After all the repairs are made, over $2 million worth of repairs are done. We can start out with a new 30-year term, hopefully. Thank you.
Okay, we've had 2 further questions on fracking come in since we last went around. So there's 1 comment and 1 question. First, the comment, I thought you couldn't have fracking in the watershed. The question, given the legal advice to not ban hydrofracking, will you be willing to nonetheless work towards zoning laws or whatever it takes to keep fracking out?
That's the purpose of the moratorium. I said before that we have to be very careful with what we say because we don't want Andes being sued. And it's an issue that's contentious, and I think that during the moratorium that can be extended, this will be resolved. Steve, would you read that first part, please?
I thought you couldn't frack in the watershed.
That's absolutely true. No one that I know, including the coalition, that's what I said before, I missed that part, and I apologize to you. No one can drill in the watershed. New York City will not allow it. They are the ones that are making the rules.
Would they change their rule, and would we have to go along with them?
I think, in my opinion, for money, anybody in the city would do anything.
I think right now with 2 lawsuits in the courts right now pertaining to fracking, who knows the time frame, how fast they're going to go through, but hopefully we can learn a lot. Possibly hope they don't have any mistakes, but we could possibly learn a lot from their mistakes and maybe refine our regulations, however you do it, through zoning or home rule regulations or however, but we need to protect this town and be ready. We can't wait to see which way New York City's going. We have to look forward for our own protection. If it stays in place, that they stay protected, we're fine. But if they don't, we're up the creek or over the dam. But we need to stay progressive and totally focused on protecting the quality of life we have here.
I guess the only thing I can add to that is we've got to get this moratorium in effect, find out what happens with the 2 lawsuits and the other ones that are pending, and get the wording in this that protects everybody here and that it can't be challenged.
I agree with what Shayne has just said. We've got to get the moratorium in effect and study the issues and realize what direction we want to go with this. We're under advisement from our attorney at this point, and we really are, that's what we have the legal team hired for, and we're following his advice at this point. There are more than 2 towns with lawsuit litigation out there right now. There are several more, actually. And we're just, at this point, watching what's really going on.
Okay, I think that's the end of the questions. For those of you, particularly the question about what's going to be done with the Old Town Shed, how many nonprofits there are in Andes, the cuts and the salaries being the same for everyone, why the town board has its meeting at 12:30. Now I understand, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the question about the Flatlander, which I couldn't quite interpret. But if you would like to now give a 2-minute closing to capsulize, summarize, do whatever you need to say in 2 minutes to close.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for coming out today. I hope we were able to enlighten you, give you information that is important to you and to the quality of our lives here in Andes. I have always been receptive to anyone that asks me a question at any time. I try to get the answer, but don't be surprised if I tell you that I don't know the answer, but I'll get it for you. So I'm not going to tell you something that I know for a fact is not true. Again, this is great. It should be done more often, but you know, and it's discouraging. I love the job of being your supervisor, and I thank you for your support. But it's very disheartening when you look out in the room and there's 3 people, or 1, or none. Okay, meeting after meeting. Someone asked me a question about public hearings. There should never be a public hearing that we don't have minimum 20 people, because we have 1,276 people in Andes right now, according to the census. Public hearings, we generally have 1 or none, and that's awful.
In closing, like Martin, it has been a pleasure to serve as your town representative for the past 24 years. I really enjoy the job. It's a challenge. There's more challenges coming up every day, and issues and decisions that have to be made. Yes, fracking is on top of the list right now, but that just is one of several issues that we deal with on a daily basis. It's been a pleasure to serve, and I need your vote on November 8th, and hope to continue the support. Thank you.
I'm with these guys. I'd like to thank you for listening to us. I've got 12 years experience. I've run a business in this town for a lot of years, since '87. I employ 3 guys. We do quite a bit for the economy of this town. I'd like to continue being your board member. I'd like to continue to I guess not the right way to put it, but argue and fight for you. Thank you for your support, and we'll talk to you guys anytime you want to talk.
Well, I actually get to speak. I've been sitting here all meeting with like a bump on a log. Safety has always been a major concern of mine for me and my employees, and it will remain a major concern of mine if I get this job. I pledge to make safer roads for a better Andes. That is why I'm asking you for your support on November 8, 2011. Please vote for me, Bill Wagner, for Highway Superintendent for the town of Andes. Look for me on the independent line on the right side of the ballot. It's truly time for a change. I hope and thank you for your consideration.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming today. It means a lot to see this many concerned citizens out here. I feel my background in the dairy industry, in the farming industry in general, working with tight budgets continually, going from a devastating fire 17 years ago, rebuilding, bouncing back, diversifying, and moving forward, and still keeping focus on where you're going throughout economic tough times, and we've seen some pretty bad ones. But that's how you move ahead. That's how you think. That's how you diversify. We need a diversified town board. I'd like to be part of that diversified town board. If elected, you'll know where I stand. You'll know I'll stand for you. If I can't answer the question, I'll get the question answered for you as soon as I can get the information available to me. Again, I'd like to thank everybody that has made Andy's your home. We couldn't do it without, Andy's wouldn't be Andy's without any of you, whether you're multi-generational like myself or somebody, I met a couple last night here that was building their house. They're going to be in it December 2nd, I believe they said, but somebody new like that or somebody all the way back to me. But I just like to say thank you for choosing Andy's, and I'll certainly like to serve for you if you choose to do so. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of the candidates for showing, all of you for being a part of this, for all of you who wrote questions.
Teacher.
Excuse me, all of those of you who wrote questions. Would you like to say something, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Is this a divisive issue or some?
It's just a simple question to Marty.
No, tell me.
Just before the town board meeting on the 10th of November, there's going to be a public hearing on the budget. I was wondering, am I correct that it's going to be only 10 minutes, Marty, for that hearing on the budget?
That's time, and as you know from doing so many agendas, that's a time and it doesn't mean anything. As I said over and over again, I would like it if 50 people came. But if nobody comes, it'll be less than 10 minutes.
I'm working at 12:30 every day. I can't make midday meetings.
Yes. And half of the meetings are in the evenings and half of the meetings
Yes.
are during the day, which satisfies probably not anybody. But
The weekenders.
weekenders. Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully on the 10th, all of us will be there to give our 2 minutes divided by 60 is like, we all get our 2 seconds worth, but let's be a part of the process after the election as much as we are before. Thank you very much for coming.
Great job.